Hey guys, welcome back to REO University. So I want to try something a little different, and I'm hoping that my computer works fast enough to really show you exactly what I wanted. So some of the biggest headaches that you're going to run into as an asset manager is doing ongoing services for a property. Okay, now we talk about this, that you're going to set up your milk run, and ideally you would do your milk run twice a week. Okay, and during the milk run, you're going to go to every property regardless of status, and you're going to get an update. Okay, if it's an eviction and the people are still moving out or they're hostile and you can't go by there and knock on the door, no problem. You're going to go by, you're going to take photos, but you're going to document the condition of the yard, any potential code violations or safety issues. And then if you go to a vacant REO and the prop pres company is not taking care of the asset, you're going to work with them to get them out there to do their ongoing services so we don't get any code violations and so we don't get stigmatized by being the standout REO property. Or you're going to have your broker emergency kit and you're just going to go ahead and take care of it yourself, okay? But here's what I want to do. So I have a couple different videos here. I'm going to walk you through. So I just went out and filmed these the other day without any sound. And now we're going to walk back through, we're going to go through the video, and I'm going to tell you what I see as an outsourcer inspecting this property, okay? So I'm going to walk through the first one, and then the second one, I'm going to let you look at for a couple minutes before I come in and actually give my 2 cents on it, okay? So here's the very first one that I shot. So let's take a look at this. Okay, so good news is I've got the sign up, which is what we want to see, but take a look at this yard, right? These weeds haven't been cut possibly all summer. That backyard is just full of debris, full of crap, and you can see that this is a hazard. And with it being on the main road, I don't know if you noticed that. Take a look here. Okay, this is on a main road, right? In an area that it's actually a pretty nice area in Clinton. So this is going to have city workers drive by. It's going to have politicians. It's going to have code enforcement officers drive by. And when they see that it's got this sign, guys, REO is a huge target for these municipalities. So the fact that the grass is growing out of control is a big red flag, and someone from the city is definitely going to see this as they go. So I would definitely note this on my inspection, saying, why are we not keeping up the grass, okay? So let's get back to where we were about right here. Here's one thing I wanted to show you. We haven't boarded the window. There's a little bit of growth there, but I'm not sure what it is. It's on the exterior, so it's not a big deal. But take a look at that right there. So I've got a broken window, which is a safety issue. So this thing should either be repaired, replaced, not repaired. It should be replaced. You could, in a pinch, you could go through and you could take some industrial grade tape, and yeah, absolutely tape it along that so that there's no sharp edges, right? Or board this window, and you'll see the rest of the house is boarded, so this one should be boarded as well. So far I would have noted that the grass is ridiculous and that we've got a broken window, so we have a safety issue. I'm not really going to worry about that growth there because it's on the exterior just like this. Like if it's moss, then who really cares? Okay, now I have broken glass here, which again could be a safety issue that should be swept up. I know it's not the cleanest to see. Now the home is secure. Okay, so this is really nice. The home is secure. I've got a padlock here, and I've got another padlock right here. So that's fantastic. Now they could have boarded this window, this big glass door here, no problem, but they have padlocked it. So one thing, I don't want to give away the whole video here, but you're going to see that there's no lockbox. There's no Supra, and there's no mechanical lockbox for the outsourcer or for the client or for any prop pres vendors. What it looks like to me is they basically have said this property is not safe to be in. We want to board it up. We want to make sure that there's no access to it. And if that's the case, then this window should be boarded as well, or at least some kind of notice posted on the sign that says no access, environmental issue, or the property's been condemned or something like that. But there are no notes anywhere. So I'm not seeing any contact information for prop pres vendors. I'm not seeing a no trespassing sign. I'm not seeing any information saying who the outsourcer is or who to contact for emergencies. So that's another strike. All right. Now, as we go through the back here, we really just see more of the same. It just hasn't been cared for, right? The weeds are all growing completely out of control. Here's my power box here. I've got no power. It's been completely cut off. Like, it's not even just turned off. This thing is cut off. But I've got a really good board here. I've got a good board there, so I'm not getting access into the home. And then as I look at the roof, I don't think I take very good video of the roof, but I noticed that when I was looking at the roof, I didn't see any safety or structural issues as I was there, okay? So again, more of the same. I have a little bit of personal property left, right? I've got this chair. I've got some junk in the bushes back behind here. Again, no lockbox. So typically you would see the mechanical box somewhere back here, which is where most outsourcers want it. I don't see anything there. It's written very faint on here that basically says no trespassing, and like somebody actually just wrote it on with a marker or a dark pen. But I don't think it's really going to be very visible. No safety issues with the stairs, no issues with the railing. See that? So, I mean, you couldn't tell if anything was written on there. I could see it when I got up close, but... And just some more personal property. They've secured the property here, but I just wanted you to get an idea of the overgrowth here. Okay? Now, if that front fence was vinyl, then maybe it wouldn't be a big issue. But, again, somebody driving by that works for the Code Enforcement Division would be able to see this from the road. And if it was me, I would love to find this property, because you could go out and charge $50 to $100 a day, and they're not going to be able to sell the home until they pay it. Banks have deeper pockets, right? So it's a little bit of a unique yard in that it has all this extra cement and all this extra land with it, but you can see some safety issues here. We've had an old tree that has fallen over, and it's basically taken out this fence. So that would most likely be a code violation. Like, it wouldn't be a safety issue from an outsourcer's perspective, but code violation wise, having down trees is definitely an issue with the cities, especially where someone's trying to market this lot right next to it. And this lot's in good condition, and they're actively marketing it, okay? So it's just more eyes and more attention to it. So I would fail a bunch of things on this. I would fail the condition of the yard, no access to the property, the broken window. It's not completely boarded. There's no trespassing sign, no contact sign. And then we weren't able to get in to determine the interior condition, okay? So that's this one. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Let me cue up this next one. And I just want to see what you think. So let me just play this video. You take a minute and walk through, and then we'll come back and I'm going to walk through this property with you, okay? This is kind of awkward with me just standing up here in the corner, so I'm going to duck myself out. Okay, video's about to end, so I'm going to come back in here. All right, so there's our 6-minute video of this REO. Okay, so let's walk through this. I'm not gonna replay the video. We're just gonna jump to different spots on it, and I just want to see if you picked up the same things that I saw as an outsourcer that would have been very concerning to me if I was sent out for the VA to inspect this property. Okay, so let's start with the exterior. Clearly, the water is off, right? That's going to be okay. And you're going to be in some areas where it's really just too hot to maintain the property. So if you're getting code violations, because here's what you have to look at, is we have to look at the standard of the neighborhood, okay? This yard back here is being well maintained. This yard's being well maintained. Ours is shit. So if the water's not on, if we don't have automated sprinklers, the outsourcer is not going to expect you to go out and water the property. Ideally, the automatic sprinklers would be on, but they're not really going to expect you to go out and hand water the property. So keeping it cut down is fine. There's also some situations where you can actually spray paint the grass. Like if we were getting a code violation for this because of the dead grass, we could actually go and we could paint it. I know there's companies in California and some of the really hot areas where they'll go through droughts that they do have a product like that basically dyes the grass. That's fine. We just want to make sure that it's kept down. So when I look at this grass, I mean, the grass is dead. The only concern for me is that there's so many neighbors that have really lush looking grass. So this is going to stick out like a sore thumb for a potential code violation. Okay. So let's walk through it. We've got some bushes. These bushes here could be cut down a little more. We don't want to go in, we don't want to sculpt them, but we do want to see them cut down underneath this line right there. Okay, just so that the property still looks attractive, because the front of this thing actually looks pretty good. Okay, some debris on the ground, no big deal. We're going to trim that bush, but here's a big concern for me. This is definitely over $300 worth of value. So this should be a personal property eviction, or it should be towed away. Okay, and then look at this, it's expired. So with it being an expired car, it should have had a personal property eviction done on it. Or it should have had a post and store, and then it should have been trashed out. It should have been taken to the dump and junked, because that's an issue. That shouldn't be sitting there, okay? This is a big safety hazard for the outsourcer if some kids get into it and start playing in it, if people come over and start breaking the glass, things like that. So definitely an unregistered car or an expired registered car should be out of there, but this thing should not be sitting here. That was a big concern. Also, we've got this big gap in the fence. If there was a pool back there, this would be a bigger safety issue. I would just note it during my property inspection. Now, a couple good things that we do see is we've got our mechanical box right here for the outsourcer and for the vendors. So that's great. That was on the property. Now, when it comes to the backyard, pretty decent. I mean, there's no lock on this shed, but it doesn't need to be because you can see the shed is completely empty. So that's fine. The grass looks pretty good. I mean, it's shit grass, but at least it's been low, so they've been taking care of it. Here's the biggest issue with this house, is this structure right here. Okay, this is a huge safety issue. So the fact that I'm actually able to walk out on the deck is a huge issue. This should either have some caution tape up. It should have some of that, like the orange barricade, like vinyl barricade. It should have some of that up around it. It should have some 2x4s built as railings up there, or this whole window here should be boarded with plywood so that nobody can get out. But the fact that I could actually just go unlock it and walk out there, huge safety issue for the outsourcer. So that's the biggest thing I saw as I walked through it. It has a super box on the front. It has the notices posted saying no trespassing. If you need information, contact this number. So I was happy with that. Walking in, I mean, it hasn't been broom swept. I tried to get a really good shot of it. The carpet's garbage throughout the whole house, but it's just got debris. Nobody swept it out. But that's, for the condition of the house, I wouldn't really fault anybody for it, because at least it doesn't have personal property in it outside of the car. It didn't smell bad, right, which is really good. We've got a broken window here that should be fixed, so we can either tape that up or we can board it. We don't want to replace it because there's so many repairs that need to be done with this house anyway that it doesn't make sense to repair this window unless we were going to repair everything in the house. Okay, so most likely tape that or board that up just so that we're not getting access, because right now I'm not worried about kids getting up into it, but a rainstorm that's going to let water into the house. Okay, little things here like I'm missing the vent cover, not such a big deal, but like I said, this is the biggest issue. It says that. It says do not access the deck. That's great. Well, I just open it up and go out there. You can't just post a sign and expect that people are going to do the right thing. Like for really cheap plywood, that whole window can be boarded and nobody can go out on the deck. And that's what should have happened on this. So if I was the outsourcer, I'd be pissed that I had access to this deck still. Okay. Going through, you could argue that it should be winterized. There should be a sign-in sheet. There's no sign-in sheet. This is just a notice from the city about the water. But there's no sign-in sheet to tell me when the PropPres vendors have come out to do their services, who's shown the property, anything like that. I mean, I've got all these cards here, but property's not winterized. It's the middle of June, so that's not really a big deal. I wasn't worried about that. There's some damage here. But then it's just not clean, right? Like as you walk through it, we're not expecting a full final sales clean, but take a look at this toilet, and then you can see it in the downstairs one. This carpet is just atrocious. Just completely stained. The walls haven't been wiped down. The carpet hasn't been vacuumed, and there's power on, so it definitely should have at least been vacuumed. Nothing there, and then just as you go down here, potentially boarding this up so that people just can't come in that downstairs window. Okay. Other than that, I mean, that was really it for this one. So hopefully you picked up some of the same things that I did. Let's hit one more. Let's see what I'm doing here. Okay, so on this one, let me just stay with you on this one because this is a really unique one. So I don't have access to this property. We weren't able to go inside. So the advantage with this one is we're saying, okay, I want you to do a milk run on every single one of your properties, even if it's in redemption confirmation status, if it's in eviction status, if it's under contract. Regardless of what the status is, you should at least be going by. And here's why this is a good one. So this is one from my former company, VRM, okay? And I pulled it up, I ran over there, and let's just take a look at this as I walk through. So I'm just standing on the driveway. First off, look at this neighborhood. This is a really nice neighborhood that's down the street from my house. And you can see that there's good pride of ownership. So this lady's working in the yard with her kid. The grass has been well cared for over here. And then just on the other side of this neighborhood, like, well, really essentially behind me, there are a lot of houses like this that are $300,000-$400,000 ramblers. And you'll see the condition of this yard is just atrocious. So we've got weeds growing here. Most likely a neighbor has cut this down while they were actually out at the property. Because nothing else is done. You've got all these newspapers that haven't been collected, and then look at this yard. Okay, we just have weeds growing. We have weeds growing everywhere, right? All along here, and then of course the neighbor's taking care of that. Just completely untouched. Not saying we have to go in and landscape this stuff out, but this should all be knocked down. The stairs, not really a big issue. You'll see we've got a VRM notice here. Okay, so they're saying, hey, in November, this property was winterized. Back in November, we're in June now. Property was winterized, so once we get in, we would be able to see that. And looking inside, the house is vacant, but where I would have faulted them is I have no access. Okay, this is a notice from the city saying, hey, we're going to cut off the power or cut off the water. But I have no Supra. I don't have a mechanical box, and the fence. You'll see the fence is locked, so I can't get to the backyard to see if there is a mechanical box back there. And I was looking on I've got an uncovered window well. That could be an issue, but take a look at this backyard there. I mean, that's all I need to see as a code enforcer. I just need to look back there, and I can find this house all day long, anywhere from $50 to $500 a day, depending on how severe it is. Okay. I tried to take a picture in there. You can see that the house is vacant. That'd be creepy if all of a sudden we just saw someone run through there. But house is vacant. I wasn't able to get into it. It looks like it's been trashed out. It looks like it's free of debris. I would have loved to have walked through this house to give you an example of a good trash out and interior maintenance. But it's just not being done. Okay. So there was no way to access this property. But on a milk run, this is going to be fine because I'm just going to run by the property. I'm going to note that the front yard needs to be cut down. I would take my lawnmower. I would bust that whole front out. And then I'd go back to the outsourcer and I'd say, hey, take a look at these photos. Take a look at what I did. If you're responsible for the lockbox, get a mechanical on there, get your Supra on there, get the home rekeyed, get your notices posted. So there was the winterization posted, but there's no other signs, right? Like there should be a no trespassing sign here in addition to the VRM sign, and then my yard sign's been taken down too. So the only time this would be acceptable to not have a yard sign is if the HOA specifically doesn't allow a yard sign, right? And then it would need to be in the window. So if they're not going to allow this yard sign, then I should have a sign in the window somewhere that says, here's my contact information as the agent. All right? Okay, let's hit this last one. Now this last one, are you seeing a theme here? The yards just aren't being kept. Right, this is a very common thing with REO, and the challenge that you have is that most likely the water's shut off, so you're not getting really good grass. You're just getting this weed and seed, and it's just a bunch of garbage. So it makes it harder to maintain it, but you still have to go out there every week or every 2 weeks. You've got to cut it down. You've got to bag up all the clippings, and you've got to get them out of there to avoid code violations and to avoid it looking like it's an REO. Like, we don't want to stigmatize the neighborhood, and we don't want to stigmatize this home. Okay. Now, great things here. We've got a notice we've got the sign posted. So it did have a yard sign right here that someone took out. So it did have a yard sign. Since that was clearly an issue, this isn't the best neighborhood where this home is located, so they're probably having vandalism issues with the sign. So to have it posted here so that you don't spend a ton of money on signs is fine, but you're going to want to reach out to your outsourcer and say, hey, people keep stealing my sign, so I would like to just put it in the window. Is that okay? And you want to get the blessing for that. So they've done that here. They've put this sign in the window. They also have their warning this property has been winterized, which this is great because this is the first one we have that's winterized. So they're saying, hey, don't use the water. The thing that they're missing here is the date that it was winterized and who the contractor was. Because if we have problems, like if we de-winterize the house for inspections and we have a blown pipe and we have flooding, we want to know who the contractor was that did that. So most likely the outsourcer has that information, the agent has that information, they just didn't choose to put it on here. It should be posted there in case somebody showing the home has an issue. But at least they have this sign up that says, hey, it's been posted. And then here's the contact information for the outsourcer, okay? There's the property address, and they're saying, here's the company that's doing the prop pres for it. That's most likely the same company that did the winterization. We don't know, but it's LH Property Preservation. Here's our phone number, and then there's the outsourcer for it, okay? Now, this outsourcer does something different, which I agree and disagree with it. The advantage is you're not losing any keys. So I wanted to show this. This is why I went in there like that. I don't know what's in here. Okay, it was all greasy. I didn't want to open it up. But when someone's doing a trash out, they did a good job. The rest of the home is completely free of personal property and is free of debris. But they left this here. So if this is full of like old motor oil, it has to be disposed of because it's a hazardous material. So it can't just be taken and put it into, like, I can't put it in the garbage here. I can't put it in this recyclables, right? So the fact that this is left here is just lazy. And as an outsourcer, I would have noted it and I would have said that that doesn't need to be there. But it just depends on how anal the outsourcers are because everything else in the property has been taken out. So wasn't really a huge issue. Now look at this lockbox. So what this company does when they do a rekey, they actually send their vendor out there and they pull that whole bolt off. They pull the dead bolt off and they put this type of lockbox on it, and then they actually publish this code for all realtors in the MLS. Okay, and then so they give you the instructions. Press C to clear it. Enter your code. It was like 2473, and then you turn the knob. And once you turn this knob down here, then you have access to the property. Disadvantage is it's not recording who's going in and out, but an advantage is that every outsourcer, like every one of their properties, is going to have that on the front door so that all the vendors know where it is. If the client is out doing inspections, they know where it is. If the outsourcer is doing inspections, they know how to get into the property. So it does help because it takes a lot of stress off of not knowing where the key is and not having to get the home rekeyed a ton of times. Disadvantage is you just have no accountability with who's been in it. Like they had no idea that I was in there because I didn't call anybody and I didn't have to swipe my electronic Supra. I just went off the code on the MLS and just went into the property, okay? But I still had access, so this is a big one too. The outsourcer or the agent would have passed if I was doing an inspection because the code that I put in was the same one on the MLS, so I did have access to it. If they had given me one code in the MLS and then it didn't work and I had to call somebody to get the right code, that would have been a finding. But as it was, the code worked fine. I had no issues. I walked right into the house. Carpet was in good condition. You can see they've got their sign there, so I think they were having vandalism issues. But the house, for the most part, shows really well. The carpet needs to be replaced in most of the rooms. It was pretty soiled, but nice counters. So another thing here, there's no sign-in sheets. So again, especially with having a mechanical lockbox on the front, I have no idea who's been in this property. I don't know when the vendors have been out to service it. They've got all these notices all over, and I'm just going to let this play for a minute because I get up close on all these. It's got all these notices saying, see that? It was 11 of 21. Let me back up so everybody can see that. See that? 11. Okay, 11. It looks like 21, 2016 was when the property was winterized. Where they did a disadvantage to this is that this should be taped over. Typically with blue tape showing that the property has been winterized so that people don't use it. Like putting all these stickers around, that's fine, but you really want to put some tape across it so it really stands out even more. And then when they were doing this winterization, I don't want to jump off track too far, but when the vendor was actually doing the winterization, they would have action photos of them pouring antifreeze in to the sink when they did their winterization, okay? So they've even got it on the dishwasher. You don't see that a lot, but that's great. You don't need it for the fridge. There's nothing to winterize in the fridge, but the cabinets look good. These counters look good. So when I talk about a sales clean, this is a great example of it. You can tell that this floor has been cleaned. You can see the shine off of this counter. It doesn't have dirt, doesn't have grime. Like I was really happy with the condition of the inside. Like I said, I would replace the carpets. I would do some minor repairs here. Like I would have fixed those slats, just replace that door for like $50. But can you see this? Like I've got really stained carpet. It's really soiled in this next room. But these are nice big rooms. They're great size for a first-time home buyer. The walls are in good condition. The paint was in good condition. You know, a little bit of carpet on this one and some attention to the yard, and the house is in great shape. So the last thing I want to show you on this one specifically is this door right there. So this carpet's heavily soiled. We could look at this from a repair standpoint, but that's not the point of this this training. This is what I like though. They must have had a doggy door, okay? Because this is clearly pet stains. It didn't really smell, but there's clearly some kind of pet stains there. So they most likely had a dog door here. And as we get a little closer to it, you can actually see a ton of scratches on the door. So like it was probably a fairly large sized dog that was kind of trashing this thing. You see all those right there. So they've definitely done some damage to the door here. But what I like is they came in and they just boarded this thing up. And this is what I'm saying. Like this isn't a really nice plywood or anything like that. They just took a board that was the right size and they just screwed it in. That's fine. That works. Okay. So I have no problems with that. I did look at this a little bit, looking at it like water damage, because it does look slightly discolored. It doesn't look like mold, but it does look like there's some discoloration from water intruding from somewhere. And since this is an exterior door to the back, then you probably have a drainage issue just to keep your eye on, right? Like the outsourcer is probably not going to do anything about it because it's minor, but you just want to keep an eye on it. No issue with that. Now here's the nice thing too. You couldn't access that door. It was just completely bolted up. Okay. And then the last thing I want to show you here, noting that it's winterized there, but I want to show you they actually did tape it correctly in the bathroom here. So I'm just going to show you this really quick. Again, it's got a really good wipe down. Now this should have tape across the sink here because that can be moved. That's not the biggest issue in the world. This is how it should look. See how they've got that? They actually have the toilet taped down. Like they have taken the tape and they've put it all the way on the sides. That's how it should be. Like it should be taped in a way that you can't use it. So I would go through and I would note that the home was winterized. The sales clean inside, like it's been maintained. Maybe some air fresheners would have been nice, but the countertops look good. The carpet, outside of being soiled, was in good condition. The home was secure. Needed some attention to the exterior, to the front yard. All right. But that is the last of this video. So I hope you're getting some value out of this and that you can see that this is typical for when you do a home. Like it doesn't matter if this thing, like if every single room in this house, if all the drywall here was just beat to shit and the carpet was soiled like we saw in the last one where it's completely missing carpet in the lower level, that's fine, right? Like we don't have to go in and repair all of these assets, but we do have to maintain these assets. So if you have broken windows, we need to board them. All right. If we have personal property, we need to get it out of there. If we have hazardous materials, it needs to be gone, right? And then we need to make sure that the home's being winterized, that the grass is definitely being maintained, that our signs are there, our contact information is there, that the home is not opening itself up for code violations or safety issues. Like, that's the biggest takeaway on these, okay? So appreciate your time and attention on this module. You're going to see these. Again, these are really good, just basic REO examples of how to do repairs. So you're probably going to see these again and some other videos as we look at maybe some repair strategies and how we would go about looking at what needs to be updated and fixed and what needs to be just replaced. Okay. So anyway, if you have questions, reach out to me. Otherwise, I appreciate your time, appreciate your attention, and I'll see you on the next module.